but he can rely on you because you're his friend. You know, I mean, he doesn't feel like anyone's judging him or anything like that. And so that's, you know, definitely something to think about there. You know, they run in circles, you know, where they are the best. You know, at times, you know, they're really good at what they do. But they also spend time for those, you know, who may be better at something than they are. I mean, it doesn't mean, I mean, chances are you're probably not going to be great at every single thing you do. There's going to be a weakness somewhere in there. You know, and I say, why not hang out, you know, with those people who can maybe help you improve in that area. Now, how do we apply this to the classroom itself? You know, share approaches with, you know, other high-performing students. You know, share your knowledge. Hopefully they'll share, you know, theirs as well. I think that's good. Encourage, you know, other top students to join your, you know, out-of-class study groups. So, I mean, you definitely want to, you know, how many times have we probably talked about study groups today? I mean, that is so important. And I also see it as one of the biggest challenges, because a lot of students, for some reason, don't want to do it. And I think part of it is they just have a hard time asking. Because oftentimes, you've got to go out there and take the initiative, and you're putting yourself out there on the line a little bit. Because what if they say no, you know? But I would say if they say no, would you want them in your study group anyway then? You know, they're saying, no, I don't want to do it. You know, because they're probably not going to put in a lot of effort then. You know, you want someone that's actually really wants to learn and wants to show up and help and so forth. And so, also, and this is the last, you know, thing, you know, on the slides here, you know, that we're covering topics-wise. Highly successful students live a balanced life. This is what it all comes down to. I mean, because if you can't have a balanced life, it's going to be very difficult to do any of the stuff that we talked about. And so, you know, these top students know that balance is, you know, critical to their success. That means they seek, you know, to have a balance. Now, this is academics, you know, a family life, and I would say personal, because, you know, and I try to separate the two with family and personal, because you need time for yourself as well. You know, let's say, you know, you have kids or whatever. Obviously, your kids, they're going to want time, you know, with you. They're going to want to do things, or your husband or whatever. But at the same time, you need to find something for you to do as well that's going to make you happy and help you relax, you know. So you've got to take time for yourself as well. And obviously, you can throw in work there, because you've got to balance work, you know, school, you name it. And that becomes challenging. Can we think of, you know, some challenges that we've encountered this semester alone? You know, we're trying to balance stuff. What are some examples that you've tried to do where it's been a little difficult balancing everything? Examples, yes?
I got really sick. Like I got really bad migraines all of a sudden after I started school, and that affected me going to school. And it was like hard because I couldn't focus in school while I was in classes. So that was really difficult.
Okay. And how many of us, you know, maybe we spend a little too much time, let's say, playing video games or something. I'm guilty of this. I've done this multiple times. Stanley, okay? And do you, how do you think that affects you sometimes? I mean, like, tell us, you know, how much time are you putting into video games at times?
Most of my spare time.
Okay. And so do you think that could be a problem? Maybe not right now, but maybe down the road. It could
Whenever I
affect
get into an English class, yes.
Okay. And so now's the time to be trying to feel things out. You know, trying to find that balance before it gets, you know, in over your head. And so I would be working on it now, trying to find, you know, kind of a schedule. I mean, one of the things that I did when I studied, I could not study for hours upon hours. I mean, I saw some people would do that. They would just study 3 or 4 hours, just nonstop, no breaks. Normally what I found out, you know, when some students did that, they were burned out and they didn't want to do anything else the rest of the day after that 3 or 4 hours. What I would do is I would study maybe 15 or 20 minutes, then I'd take a break. I'd go do whatever, then I'd come back and study another 15, 20 minutes, then go take a break. And I did this multiple times throughout the day. And eventually, by the end of the day, it added up, you know, time-wise. But I never felt too burned out because, you know, I paced myself and I got away from it, you know, so I didn't get those big headaches, you know, where it just feels like you got so much information that you're trying to, you know, remember. And so, something to think about. And also, you know, they do study a lot, but they take time for themselves. And, you know, this kind of helps them where they're able to stay focused, I think, you know, doing that. So how do we apply this exactly into the classroom? Establish a mentoring relationship with your professor. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a professor and just asked them, you know, about whether it's certain fields, or maybe it's, you know, a test that's coming up, or my notes. Maybe there was something like I had a gap in my notes at times, and I would go back like, I've got a gap, and I don't know why I have that. And then they say, oh yeah, that's we were talking about this, and then I remembered, and then I was able to jot that down. And so it's just talking, talking to your professor. I mean, they have so much knowledge, and they've done so many things. They can tell you kind of the do's and don'ts. I mean, if there's a field that you're not sure about, they can probably tell you a lot about it. Also complete, a study skills workshop. So it never hurts, taking workshops, learning what works for you. Because I can tell you, I can say, study 15, 20 minutes, take a break, go do this. It might not work for you, And, like I can tell you, I study better when there's noise going on. My wife, complete opposite. Everything has to be complete silence, in the house. But me, I just cannot study under those type of conditions. So my wife, would prefer to go study at a library somewhere, so maybe in like a corner somewhere. I was laying in the bed, I have TV on, I have my books over here, I'm watching TV, then I just grab my notes, look at it real fast, then I go, watching TV again, I go back and forth. She cannot do that. And so you have to find what works for you. And by taking some of these workshops, you can kind of learn, what works for you and what doesn't. Also, teach what you have learned to someone else. Because there will be a time, after you take some of these classes, where you may be able to help another student out, I think that's why a lot of people, become teachers, because they want to pass that knowledge on, what worked for them and what didn't. Are there any questions on this? Questions? So, our little summary, what we've covered. Be proactive and don't procrastinate. I mean, and at the end of the day, if you procrastinate, you wait till the last minute, you're gambling. I mean, is what you're doing. It may work out for you. I've seen people who cram, the night before, and it works out. But I will say this: there will be a time where it catches up to you. It's just a matter of when. When will it? And I would say, the further you go in school, especially if you decide you want to go to graduate school, it becomes more difficult, to do that cramming. Because I can tell you, when I got my master's degree in public administration, we had to do a lot of writing. So I can tell you, every class that we had, we always had a research paper, 20 to 25 page research paper, every single class. And our short papers were generally around 5 to 7, 5 to 8 pages. And we did a lot of those. And so, it would be very difficult to write a 20 to 25 page paper the night before. And so, probably not going to happen. And I would see some students in our class try to do that. A couple of days before, the weekend before it's due, trying to do that. And what would happen is they'd have typos, they'd have problems, they'd mess up, on their work citations, and you're increasing your chances of getting a bad grade. And I would just say, why do that if you're paying the money, to do it? And so, also have a purpose and vision. You actually want to know why you're going to college. Why you're majoring in this. It will actually help you get through it. Set objectives and prioritize. All times back into time management. It is okay to be competitive, but be careful, because what happens? If I'll give you one example. What if let's just say I feel really good with English and writing papers and stuff. And I'm with my group, and I'm like, man, you guys are stupid, man, because I can do this really easy. I love this stuff. It's so easy. I can't believe you can't get that. You think you're going to alienate a few people? They're probably not going to study with you. And then that study group becomes just you. And so you got to find that balance. So it's okay to be competitive and challenge everyone else in the group and be competitive and try to get the highest score. But at the same time, you want to give credit. If they do well. Also, communicate well with others, spend time with people who stretch you, so you want people that are going to challenge you. And at the end, you're going to have the balanced life. Because if you don't have that balanced life, you're going to crash eventually, because you can't keep doing that. And so you've got to have the balance there. Well, that is all I have. Are there any questions? So now what you get to do is you get to take the post-test, which I know everyone loves. And of course, remember, you have the PowerPoint. You can certainly look at that. You've got notes that maybe you've taken, and then of course, an evaluation here. And so I'm going to pass these two. And once you've done that, then we're good.